afternoon to in-house counsel and in-house legal professionals from all across North America and the world. Welcome to In-House Connect. My name is Shai Mahani. I am the CEO and co-founder of In-House Connect, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. Thank you for spending your breakfast time or your lunchtime or your dinner time with us. And special thanks to our wonderful sponsor, Unblinded, fantastic partner. I don't think it's a who, but it's a movement. It's a technology. And we're so grateful to have Unblinded as a partner. And our fantastic presenter today, Sean Callaghy, who is going to teach us how to leverage the art and science of influence to get more from our internal teams. This is our 31st event of the year. I'm excited to get to today's program, which is Influence Mastery for In-House Counsel, how to leverage the art and science of influence to get more from your internal teams. This topic was actually suggested by Michael, who has heard from a lot of people in his coaching sessions who are struggling with this very issue. So very excited to get to it. And we are, of course, privileged, honored, very, very fortunate to have the amazing Sean Callaghy here. Sean is an entrepreneur, international speaker, philanthropist, and one of America's top trial attorneys, online personalities, and creator of various peak performance technologies. For 25 years, aided by his unique insights, love for people, and ability to see and create transformational breakthroughs, Sean has achieved and co-created an incredibly diverse variety of unique successes. Sean has been favorably compared to some of the top speakers and influencers in the world, and he's managed to accomplish all of this while being legally blind. As a byproduct of his technologies, Mr. Sean is one of only 2 attorneys out of 1.2 million attorneys in America to achieve 2 top 100 national jury verdicts between 2014 and 2016, and the only one who is legally blind. He also has collected more than $500 million on his healthcare clients, built and sold a 40-person law firm in little over a year in his 20s, and publicly spoken more than 4,000 times to various audiences. Sean is the creator of the Unblinded formula and hundreds of hours of content on integrity-based human influence, which empowers and co-creates results that fulfill dreams through his unparalleled human breakthrough technologies in law, business, sales, and life, and going from hello to yes, and what to do with that access for success. As a speaker, Sean has broken sales records on the largest personal development stages in the world. He's spoken for T-Mobile, Disney executives, Bristol Myers Squibb, national news networks, legal associations, and raised $7.4 million for charity on stage during his last 4 speaking engagements. And I have to add, I get feedback from various people who have attended our events, and we've done a number of events with Unblinded, and the feedback that I've received about this course and about the coaching that goes on after the course has been, I've never heard such positive feedback in my life about anything ever. So it's a huge credit to Sean and Michael and the whole Unblinded team for the amazing content and transformations that they produce. So without further ado, I'm honored to turn things over to Sean to get us started.
Shai, happy April Fool's Day, brother. Appreciate you being here, everything you do, and everybody being here. So thank you, Shai. I appreciate it. What you've done with In-House Connect is really a profoundly different dynamic, and just the energy, the connectivity, and the respect and love and appreciation and trust people have for you is because of how you've approached this. So thank you, brother, for the introduction and for everything you do. Thank you. Michael Smikin, are you present, accounted for in the house, sir?
Sean, present and accounted for. Yep. How are you?
Okay, I am great. I'm going to introduce Michael a little bit better in a second, but for everybody who's here, thanks for the trust. I'm certain many of you have been here present before. We're going to drop in with a little bit more precision than we have in the past, but some also introductory concepts as well in a moment, because our outcome is to add value to you and for you. And I will also say I failed, thank you, Shai, for the beautiful words, but I also failed freshman high school geometry for the year. Literally, I did. I ran for class president in 7th grade. I got 2 votes, and I don't mean 3, in my class of 115 people. I ate lunch. I was a Columbia University undergrad. I ate lunch in my car by myself the vast majority of the 2nd semester of my sophomore year because I judged people, I was upset, I was angry, and I did not know how to create alignment with people that I disagreed with. So I was not born with a certain level of skill set, or people say charisma or an it factor. I certainly had none of those things. I learned a specific skill set, which I believe is vital and critical for everybody here today. We'll lean in a little bit more in that in a moment, but I'm absolutely certain that every one of you is here because there's something more you seek. We always start every session by saying that. You wouldn't be here if there wasn't something more that you saw. One of the reasons that we don't do CLE and CE education, I used to, and I had done this for all sorts of different people, places, and things, is because I realized that very often the more that somebody was there for was simply to get credits. And that's a wonderful thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I'm up for in the speaking that we're doing. We want to create difference. We don't want to just give credits. So I do thank Shai for this innovative approach. I thank you for being here, because if you're here, then certainly there is a more that you're seeking. We categorize more in a few simple ways. Very often, I'm quite confident that a lot of you are here because the more you're seeking is to do your work more effectively, more optimally, but there's got to be something underneath that. Maybe it's you want to be more proud. Maybe you want to get a promotion. Maybe you want to see your company grow exponentially. Maybe for some of you, you want to get a new position or job. For some of you, you want to leave what you're doing and perhaps start your own law firm or consulting firm. But there's a more that you're seeking. For some, that might be time freedom. It could be that you want to figure out more effective and efficient ways to lead, to cause yes, to do and perform as in-house counsel or other positions that you have more optimally. For other folks, it could be that you're seeking a greater level of financial compensation, financial abundance, whatever those mores are, however you would define the more. Maybe your friend told you about this and you want to be better friends. You want to make them happy. That's why you're here. Whatever it is, there's a more at stake, and we appreciate that and want to service the interest of that more and have this being a very effective use of your time today. I'll say this in final. A lot of folks that, in the first session we did with In-House Connect, as Shai very beautifully shared, there's people like, this is amazing, this is great, and this is wonderful. There's people like, I can't stand this. Who are these people? I work for a giant company. So let me go slowly and share this. The work we teach and share can be perceived, it can be received and transmitted through a bunch of different dialects. Dialect 1 could be C-suite, Fortune 10 company. Dialect 2 could be non-C-suite, Fortune 10 company. Dialect 3 could be like Fortune 500 C-suite or Fortune 500 non-C-suite. It could be company of 10 to 50 people, and every other dialect in between. We have spoken with, worked with all of those parameters. I've been with people at Salesforce in rooms of 10 that do nothing less than $10 million contracts, all the way up to multiple 9-figure contracts. I've spoken to top executives at Disney on issues of diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging. The enrollment for people in those terms, 150 high-level Disney execs, where they talked about our content and work becoming the backbone potentially of Disney University. And we've worked with solopreneur attorneys and other professionals. So please, if there's anything that we share, we apologize if it doesn't land in your dialect initially, but please don't tune us out because we don't hit your dialect. To do so, we'd have to have like translators for everyone. It just doesn't quite work that way. But what we're talking about has application from the full breadth and diversity of all of the applications with which we've just communicated. And the topic we're here talking about today is the causing of yes, because everything happens after yes, but not just the sales and marketing yes, of course, but any yes, a yes that you have as an attorney to cause somebody to agree with your legal advice. And there's a bunch of different things that have to happen in between. But Michael, you want to just dial in a little bit more? Actually, let me introduce Michael better and more appropriately. Michael and I have been working together for 15 years. When I first met Michael, Michael was somebody who was really a brilliant guy. He was a moot court champion in law school. He had great influencing ability, and he had very little practical skill set to deal with people who were assertive and aggressive. He had no ability to cause yes in a whole myriad of different circumstances. And we first started working together a decade and a half ago. He thought a lot of what I was sharing was a little bit much, a little bit crazy. Perhaps I overvalued it, I overemphasized it, and that's how Michael initially received me. Well, 15 years later plus, we're no longer near those parameters. The top jury verdicts that I've had the privilege of creating, I've co-created with this man. There's no one who I've ever worked with who has been more student of the principles of influence we teach, particularly in the opening of listening in complex situations where listening is closed. So Michael Smikin, no finer teacher, a student of this work. Welcome to the In-House Connect today, Michael.
Yes, and Sean, thank you for that beautiful honor. Yes, I've been a student of your work, and it is truly a gift. At first, I used to think Sean was just the magician, and he had the ability to sprinkle magic dust on people and get them to say yes. And so I always wanted to utilize him like a resource. And soon I realized that what it is that he does is actually a very advanced science that anybody can learn. At first, you think they can do it, that's great. Then you ask yourself, can they teach it? That's great, but can I do it? And it's when you cross over that threshold and realize that you too can do it, that you can unlock this superpower, which was given to me as a gift 15 years ago. And really, I've been a student of it, and it's changed the trajectory of my life. So we're glad to be here with you folks.
Yep, absolutely. So, brother, let's dig in. Our topic today.
Yeah. So, as Shai pointed out, he and I had a beautiful dialogue because we've been working with the folks over at IHC, and there's no finer organization that brings together in-house attorneys, general counsel, and those that support those teams. And what became really clear very quickly is that there's a challenge, right? And in-house attorneys and general counsel are no different than other attorneys. But the challenges seem to kind of stack into three buckets, essentially. The first, I think, In-House Connect does a tremendous job in doing, and that is to eliminate the feelings of isolation, right? Feeling at times alone, you're a one-man band or dropped in enemy territory and, sent out with very little instructions to go solve the most challenging of issues. Number two is the feeling of uncertainty, right? Not knowing and having a strike zone of things that you're very good at, but then being asked to do things that are much more challenging and that you don't necessarily have a lot of background with, a lot of skill set with, and yet you have to resolve those problems nonetheless. Also, a beautiful challenge that In-House Connect helps resolve by bringing wonderful speakers like Sean and others at their events to give you that certainty and to give you that strength. The third challenge was one that I thought that we uniquely can really help and solve, and that is I can't get the people who make the decisions to say yes to me. And it's not always the other side's attorney or another in-house counsel or even someone that's outside of our office. It's the CEO, the CFO, the COO, my GC that I report to. And even if you are the GC, the sales teams, the sales managers, and those folks. So what we had realized from there and talking with some members of In-House Connect is we're going to be of great value to zero in on that specific challenge and to bring specific solutions and to show the types of challenges that you folks face and to give you those ways to overcome those obstacles as well. So what this course is actually called, this one specifically, is called Influence Mastery for In-House Counsel. Leverage the art and science of influence to get more from your internal teams.
Outstanding. So, Michael, thank you. And for everyone, what we want to know, ask questions in the chat, please. We're here to serve you and cause the greatest acceleration possible. But at the outset, Michael, I want to create a quick framework, and I want you, Michael, please, to act as the audience, challenge the listening, bring all questions present. We want to give as much value in our limited time today as possible. And it begins like this. So 27 years ago, let's go back 32 years ago. I'm graduating from Columbia University, and I had hoped to play professional baseball. My eye condition, retinitis pigmentosa, I cannot see a single thing in front of me on the screen. I have just a little bit of peripheral vision. I'll occasionally turn my head so I can see the kind of contrast at the top of the screen. So I have an idea of where to look to fake engagement of my eyes with you guys. But my baseball career ended because of my eye condition. So I haven't read anything in a decade. I haven't driven a car in a decade, and I have no capacity to see, again, anybody's face, eyes, anything in front of me, nor to read, and I can bump into anything in front of me, okay? So that was a devastating, crushing dynamic for me. And 5 years later, I'm a law school graduate. The only reason I went to law school, I did not grow up with resources, was because I didn't want to be blind and broke like a lot of people in my family. So I did not have in any way a deep desire to be an attorney. I did succeed at a very high level in law school. Academically, I got a job offer from a big giant law firm. But then pretty quickly, I realized that the people who were free were these people that I was offended by, I was frustrated by, I was angry with, and I didn't like. And these were the marketing and salespeople. And I couldn't believe that nobody had ever told me that marketing and salespeople create a lot of impact and influence in the world. So for me, by and large, I had all these fine dynamics that I didn't want to step into because I had my own framework of the world. So our first jump off point for today is to ask you, like, what's your framework of the world? And how Dr. Dweck at Stanford speaks into the principle of the fixed versus the growth mindset, not motivation, not inspiration, but brain science. And the literal reality that different portions of our brain light up and either allow us to continue to learn and grow or do not. And here's the very simple differentiation, my reducing Dr. Dweck's work into very simple principles that will potentially overly simplify it, but I still think make it usable. What Dr. Dweck says is the difference between the growth mindset says not yet, like, hey, I'm not great at that yet, not yet. The fixed mindset believes there's some inherent dynamics of who and what we are that will or will not allow us to learn, grow, and develop. For example, somebody saying, hey, I'm just logical. It's just who I am. Or that's not me. I'm not a hype person. I'm not able to be with those marketing and sales people. They're just not my people. Or the C-suite, they never listen. I'm a logical person. They're all aspirational. They're delusional at times. They don't want to listen. I can't deal with people like that. All of those all those perspectives, those belief structures would be the belief structures of the fixed mindset. And what I'm proposing for today, and if you're here leaning towards you have a growth mindset, because you're not here for any other reason, that you're not getting CLE credits, so there has to be that, present. But what I would offer you is to really look for anything that you feel resistant to, that we're going to speak of today. Any part of you that's like, no, it's not me. That's your fixed mindset. I have fixed mindset. You have fixed mindset. We all do. And not in motivational concept, but literally in brain science. And when we begin to think our identities are being threatened, any identity that we hold for ourselves is being threatened. Like, I'm logical. I'm not emotional. You said something that doesn't feel accessible for me. I don't feel included, accepted. This feels like otherness present. This is a diverse, equitable, inclusive, and belonging section. And the growth mindset aspect to this is that everyone here can ingest and master the ability to communicate and cause yes with the most diverse group of humans, from homeless people to billionaires, from right-wing Republicans to progressive left Democrats. Anything in between, we can create unification in listening and belief structure. So regardless now, so we're not in the fanciful world. We're not talking perfection here with the principles we're going to talk about today and how you create more yes. So you may have someone that you work with and for, that the principles that we're going to talk about today are not going to create yeses ongoingly. They may have a concealed agenda, a stated agenda that make them impossible for you to work with and to fulfill your purpose, your mission, your ultimate vision statement for your work in your life. And you might have to either not work with them anymore, leave, change. Something may have to shift for you to be able to fulfill your ultimate outcome. So for starters, we don't live in a fanciful world of dreams and say that you're going to be able to create a relationship with everyone. I haven't been able to. There's plenty of people I transition out of relationships with. There's ecosystems, there's organizational dynamics that we step away from. There's clients we terminate. There's people we transition out of our work. So not at any level are we claiming that our work is going to allow you to cause yes with everyone at all. Second, what we are saying is you will know whether or not you can create a yes with someone and sustain alignment if you implement the things we're talking about here today and in other sessions we'll do on In-House Connect and elsewhere. Then you'll know that, and you'll increase the likelihood of being able to achieve yes and outcomes with other people. That's the outcome for today. So Michael, any place you want to start by shooting over some curveballs, challenges, questions to begin?
Yeah. So the person who I had spoken with that actually inspired this idea was a member of IHC. I won't mention by name specifically, but just to create context, As I was communicating with this person, I said, tell me a little bit about what it is that you do. And when we got deeper into the conversation, just setting a little bit of context here, he goes, 99% of my job is fixing all of the things our sales team says we can do or will do that we cannot and will not do. So I'm like, what would happen?
Michael, say that again.
Yes.
One more time. Yeah.
99, not my words. 99% of my job is fixing all of the things our sales team says that we can or will do that we can't or won't do. And I then asked them the follow-up question, what would happen? What would occur in terms of your job if that went away? And this was all done at a wonderful IHC event. It was a dinner event that we had. I said, well, what would you do if all that went away? He goes, I could probably retire, right? My job will be done. I'll have fixed everything and I will retire a champion and a hero. And so it was just a wonderful interaction that we had. And it was the inspiration for this event, that person specifically.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing you say, Michael, is our topic to lean into with internal team dynamics today is what the marketing and sales people give other people the impression that the company that you're representing can do that you cannot do, will not do, and or it's something that you really don't want to do. And the sales and marketing people leave it to the in-house or general counsel to bring an agreement to fruition that they're not skilled enough at or desirous of, or even knowing how to get it there, because the sales and marketing people have created a false expectation and made their job unbelievably difficult. Is that what I'm hearing, Michael?
Yes, yes, yes. And we have two people who are already saying this resonates. I see this all the time. So and by the way, this gentleman that I spoke with, he was not the only person who introduced me to this concept, which is why we're having this talk. But it's yes, and I've told you a million times we can't, won't, and I will not do this. So why are you still making these promises and promising these things? So and again, this is portable. It applies all over the place, but really the focus was on the sales managers, the sales teams, and those kinds of things.
Awesome. Okay. So whether it's sales team, sales manager, salesperson, marketer, CFO, CEO, the application of today is broader than talking to the sales team. It's any internal dynamic where there is an absence of alignment between what you know you can do, whether it's a regulatory issue, whether it's a corporate policy, whatever the dynamic, there's a yes friction point. That's the conversation for today, Michael. Am I hearing this correctly?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so and Tink, let's feel prepared and ready to drop in full formula slides and different pieces. So Michael, let's role play back and forth a little bit for today. We have a very limited time window and want to get as much value in place. And we're gonna, for each and everybody here, we want to give as much value, drop questions in the chats, other insights, but it looks like this. Foundationally, how does your organization, whether it's a Fortune 10 company or it's a 72 employee company, 150, 2,000, 5,000, 20,000, wherever you are on the continuum, how aligned is everyone on what happens? So I'm going to have a step back. I train sales teams. I train marketers. I train attorneys. I train C-level, and I do this for my own companies in addition to other people's companies. And I train people on our team to do the same thing. So I am very present and clear on the one hand to salespeople and marketing people want to kick over the yes creation process elsewhere. And then if it doesn't work out, then blame legal, right? That's what happens. And I'm also very clear that very often the skill sets that folks in the legal team, legal and general counsel have at creating yes is very often not quite as high as the people in the sales and marketing team. So I'll give you a quick personal example. So for about 2 years, our work at Unblinded and our mission is to cause growth, to move things forward through the creation of yes, knowing what yes is to cause and how to emotionally get yourself to do it, whatever access vector into a corporate structure exists. Again, from the legal side, the sales side, the marketing side, whatever that is, C side. So our own internal team challenge, I own a 100+ person law firm, right? Michael's my partner in that law firm. And so I see it on every vantage point, right? So for a while, we create strategic partnerships. We call them ecosystem mergers. And we were consistently having our sales and marketing team create really valuable relationships. I'm getting booked to have 3,000 person speaking engagements, 10,000 person speaking engagements, 300 person speaking engagements. And these are really valuable things. And so the marketing folk would go out and they'd create a relationship. Everybody get excited. Everybody would say that I'm coming to speak. And then they would kick it off to legal to quote, just dot the I's and cross the T's. Well, it was anything but dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And after about the 10th of these relationships, where I would end up, speaking in a stadium to people, for example, Lee Steinberg, the most famous sports agent in history, the person they made the Jerry Maguire movie at, I'm speaking at his event. I'm opening my second consecutive Super Bowl party for him, thousands of people. And we are in a completely misaligned agreement because the sales and marketing team handed it off to our in-house counsel. Our in-house counsel thought that there was a completely different agreement structure. And I'm in the middle of this thing when it's over, losing my mind at both sales, marketing, and legal because of a train wreck. So I am not speaking from a pedestal of perfection. I am speaking out of my own pain. Even our relationship with Shy and In-House Connect went through the same myriad of dynamics between the legal and the marketing and sales. All of those things are present. So how do you fix it? How do you make it better? Not permanently, but at least better. And here's the literal ABCs, 1, 2, 3s of what we propose you do is simply this, right? Foundationally. First, it's creating a realignment between everyone involved in the yes process. And if everyone doesn't fundamentally accept this principle, unless we all know what the yes we're causing is, what the parameters of our negotiating abilities are in this yes concept, C-suite, legal, sales, marketing, from management all the way down to frontline, and everybody in between, if there's any misalignment, if there's any sense of otherness is what creates wars. It's what's created what's going on in the Middle East. It's what creates what's gone on between the Ukraine and Russia. It's what creates issues in the Congo, and it's what creates issues in our families. It's what creates issues in all of our companies. The principle of otherness. And I don't mean otherness from a virtue signaling language dynamic, which I'm also not signaling anything by using virtue signaling in quotes, put it over there. What I'm speaking into is the literal dynamic of otherness. And it's not otherness with like certain exceptions, like any degree of otherness, any degree of marketing and selling having a perspective on legal, and legal and marketing perspective, legal having perspective marketing and selling, or C-suite or whatever, CFO, CEO, COO, whatever the dynamic of management structure and leadership. The removal of otherness is the first essential. Because if marketing and sales does not understand and appreciate where they begin and end, or maybe never end, like they begin, how they move things over and how it goes back and forth, or whomever, the finance team, if it's in finance that there's friction issues, if everyone isn't aligned on the entire yes process along the way, then we're going to have serious friction, and a lot more no's are going to happen than yeses. And a lot more yeses that should happen are never going to. And so let's begin with this. We teach, and we're going to put up the full formula slide of influence in a moment, please, Nicole. And what we teach to begin with is simply communication that's empathetic, respectful, precise, and direct. So the folks in marketing, which by the way, our language of marketing is everything done to create a sales meeting. Sales is everything from there. So some companies put marketing and sales together. Some companies have a very meaningful differentiation between marketing and selling. So marketing is everything done to create a sales meeting. Sales is to move that sales meeting into an agreement where there's a yes and there's a financial transaction, right? If there's no financial transaction, it's marketing. And then if there is a financial transaction, it's sales, right? Now, legal often has, I had a friend who worked in a Fortune 20 company, and he was the head of risk management. He was one of my best friends from high school. And he said to me, you know what drives me crazy? And we're just like hanging out, down the beach, sitting on the beach talking. He says, the marketing and sales people. He goes, every problem our company has is because of these lunatics. Everybody else is buttoned up and squared away. He had a law enforcement background, my dear friend. And he said, but the marketing and sales people, they're the ones that get in trouble. They're the ones that create all the problems. They're the ones that do every single thing wrong I think our company has ever seen. If I began to tell you the stories of what all these lunatics do now and stopped in 3 years, I would never be done. And I empathetically said, I'm like, wow, I'm so sorry. That sounds super stressful. It sounds like where all your time and energy has to go. And he was essentially like the internal corporate police for this, huge company for the Americas. I said, okay. I said, how do you think you fix this? He goes, I just wish they would all be different. I'm like, well, that's great. But how are you causing the matter of wishing they're all going to be different? I said, and by the way, and I'm not being silly when I say this. I'm like, can I ask you a question though? Tom was the name. He said, sure. I said, Tom, where does all the money come from? He goes, oh, I get it. Like you like marketing and sales people. I said, no. I like truth. I'm like, where's all the money come from? He goes, well, our products. Okay. I'm like, but who gets your products out into the marketplace? He's like, I guess they do. I'm like, you guess? He's like, they do. I said, okay. She said, you need these people. They're essential. So this isn't like you're going to be able to continue to grow, build, and maintain the company or do your job any better by having this perspective that these people are a problem. Nor are they going to win if they think you're a problem as you deal with issues of risk mitigation, compliance, legal, because legal was under his umbrella as well. I said, neither are they going to win if they see you as other and enemy. He's like, absolutely true. So the beginning was, I said, listen, how do you train these people to feel seen, heard, and understood by you? How do you have them receive that to begin to desire to create alignment with you? And that was the beginning of tremendously meaningful conversations and acceleration. And then my friend came to work for my company. And when he came to work for my company, he didn't do any of the things we talked about. He had great success where he was. And so my simple point is, if we're not committed to creating alignment, committed to eliminating all these friction points, then we're never endingly going to have suboptimal outcomes. So how do you do it? What's the tool to how to do this? So it sounds something like this. And remember, this is the dialect part. I could be speaking to somebody you're talking a team of leaders that run organizations of tens of thousands of people. I could be speaking to people here that it's like Harry, and he manages 3 salespeople and everybody in between. I am present to and clear on that, but this applies the same. So if Michael right now is Harry managing 3 people, or Michael is Mary, has 8 reports that all have organizations under them of 2,000 people each, it's the same conversation, no matter what. Michael, please repeat what you're hearing me say right now before we step into the moment.
Yeah, these tools and the dialect that's used to explain them is usable by whoever you are inside the organization, no matter what your organization is. It's all the same. Funny enough, and one thing that you didn't mention is that it also applies at home, right? It's the same thing. It's like your organizational structures at home, same tools apply there. We're obviously focused on one thing here, but it's essentially all virtually the same. The empathetic respect, precision, and directness with the way you communicate and bring that home for folks.
Yeah. So thank you, Michael. And so for right now, we're going to step into the example of speaking with sales manager, sales leadership. Okay. So it could sound like this. So I'm in-house general counsel, Michael's sales leadership. Right. So it's, hey, Michael, I'd love to set up a time. This is like preliminary, just to speak for 15 minutes about a couple different things and, check in, create a little bit of alignment. How would that feel for you?
That would feel great. Whatever you want.
Awesome. Or if they're like, well, what's the problem? No problem. I just want to pretend, Michael, that I just got my job today. We just bought this company today and I'm brand new and I'm in my position in legal. You're brand new in your position in sales. And we are literally recreating everything inside this company right now. And again, whether you're a $25 million company or you're a $100 billion company or anything in between, that's a simple conversation to have. And I wouldn't leave until that's the initial framework. Like, we've newly acquired everything. Let's start anew. And I'm not leaving it until we're aligned. And for the sake of time, we don't have time to like go through every objection, every level. But if Michael's not aligned, I'd ask questions. I'd recreate alignment with him in the moment. Okay. So now we're aligned and that we're gonna have a conversation. So it's like, Michael, can I make a quick set of context for our meeting? So I'd always set context for meeting, step one. So Michael, may I set a quick context for our conversation? And you still have 15 minutes. Is that correct, Michael?
Correct. Yeah. And
awesome. So there's a new day. Like, so, hey, thanks. So you're always asking time, permission, confirming time. And may I ask this, Michael, before we start, what prompted you to say yes to the meeting? I would always second. So one is time check-in. Second is what prompted you to say yes to the meeting. This is not sales gimmicks. This is aligning. So there's a reason he said yes. And the answer could be, well, I don't know. I felt I had to say yes. You're legal. That could be the answer. The answer could be, I don't know. I just want to see what kind of ridiculousness you had up your sleeve. Like, this sets like, where's his thinking? Because we want to be speaking into his listening. So Michael, please, what prompted you to say yes to this conversation?
Yeah, sure. Some of the sales meetings that we've been having, we've had some friction points with the prospective clients we've been working with, and they keep reporting back that everything's great on our side, but the minute it gets into legal, it just thumbs up, slows down, sometimes doesn't even happen. So I've been meaning to have a conversation with you, and now this is an opportunity.
Awesome. So I hear the problem. So what I'm also thinking I'm hearing is you took this meeting because you want to make things better. You're frustrated. There's some disappointment in things moving from sales team into legal and dying there. Am I hearing that correctly, Michael?
Yes.
Am I missing anything?
No, not really.
Yeah. Like, what's your frustration level on this principle, Michael? Like, scale 1 to 10. 1 being, like a gnat of annoyance. A 10 being like there's a giant anvil on your head that weighs 10,000 pounds.
I'll be honest, 2 weeks ago, it was an anvil on my head. Today, it's like an 8 or a 9, but it's important enough for us to address. That's why I wanted to have the meeting.
Okay, so let's back up a step. So number 1, we're checking in on time. Number 2, we're like, hey, so what prompted you to accept the meeting? Then 3 was an acknowledgement. And here's the principles, the beginning and ending principles of an acknowledgement. So, hey, Michael, hey, person, hey, X, what I'm hearing you say is ... Am I hearing you correctly? So what I'm hearing you say is ... Am I hearing you correctly? Third component. Fourth component is if they're identifying a challenge or a problem, then I would ask them, how big a problem? Like, how is this feeling for you? You go, feeling? Yes, feeling. Today, we're not going to reach into, it's about a 15-minute piece that we do on how everyone is driven by emotion and justifies logically. Everyone. We're not going to go through all of it, but no one is singularly driven by logic. It may seem that way. They may be really effective at hiding their emotions. They may be incredibly effective, and you may be, at coming across as a logical decision maker. But in the end, emotions are what drive all human behavior. And we can prove it and do it. We're not doing it for today. So you always want to ask people, hey, so how does that feel for you? And quick, like, pro tip, like super masterful pro tip, if somebody resists your question and recreates your question, goes, well, I don't know, like, feeling, I don't know, feeling, what I think of this is, wow, okay, yeah, tell me what you think of it. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, now would you mind? And I know, maybe you don't feel like sharing this, but would it be okay to ask, like, how do you feel about it? Like, do you feel it's a big problem, small problem, huge problem, 1 to 10? What's a scoop, right? And so then they are going to say, right, their answer. It's powerful. It's cool. It's like awesome. Like you have something. You've made progress, right? So now I know it's a 10. Say, wow, Michael, that's got to be horrifically frustrating. I completely understand that you'd be upset because you guys, can I share actually, Michael, a couple quick things?
Sure.
Okay. So I used to think sales and marketing people were the bane of my existence. I went to law school to never sell a single solitary thing, and I found sales to be repulsive. Do you feel better now, Michael?
Not really, because I think you just called me repulsive.
Yeah, but that's where I was. And at some point, I realized that all the money that comes into this company would never be here without marketing and sales. So let me start by saying thank you. I'm immensely appreciative of every conceivable thing that you provide for this company. And I would never get a paycheck if it wasn't for you and your team. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So from that place, what I'd love to do, because we only had a quick 15-minute, I'd say recreation of alignment meeting, recreation of alignment, because I'd love to have a much longer conversation. Can I share a couple of things from that place with you that are on my heart?
Sure.
Okay. So I don't want anything to die in legal. Ever. Never. Because when it dies in legal, everybody gets upset, right? The C-suite gets upset, management gets upset, you're upset, everyone's upset. I never want it to die in legal. Can you appreciate that I do not want that to happen?
I believe you, yes.
Yeah. And what's happened in the past is there's been a lot of me blaming sales and marketing and sitting back going, we've talked about this. They weren't supposed to agree to that. The person's coming in, like Michael's team, and those things, I'm just being honest from my heart, were things that rose up for me. But right now, I want to apologize to you for not addressing them in a more optimal way. And that's my intention from here. So Michael, if you wouldn't mind, like, please, what are you hearing me say? Now, out of role, everybody, I would do that. I would make a statement, and then we do what's called a quick check-in. Like what are you hearing me say, please? Right? And that's going to allow you to see if the other person's with you or not, or missing what you're sharing. So Michael, please, what are you hearing me share?
I think I heard you say, that how much you appreciate what it is that we do here, that you've had your own frustrations as well, and at times maybe you feel like you haven't been heard.
Yes, absolutely. Now, but what I'm taking responsibility for, because I believe in a principle, Michael, of 100% responsibility, that I'm going to always take 100% responsibility. And I think the most effective teams all take 100% responsibility. I'm not asking you to agree with me today, right? And this is, we got to get other folks involved in the conversation to see if this is a corporate policy that everybody can align with. But I'm taking 100% responsibility to get us to a better place. I think it'd be super fun and exciting if you did too. I'm not asking for that in this call. I just ask you to think about how this feels. Is that cool?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. So what I want to do and what I believe we can do together in this moment, right, is to create a recreation of the entire process of what everyone thinks and feels. Because we have this gap. We have a gap between sales and marketing. And by the way, I'm sure there's a gap between how you feel about marketing too. Is it like, do I agree or not agree that I'm sure you'd like to see some different things in the marketing support for your sales? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. And also in finance, I'm sure you have some concerns, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm sure finance has concerns with marketing and selling and legal. So what I want to step in and take some leadership over, and I think it affects us all, is how we create a better alignment, because I don't want to blame anybody else anymore. And I've been sitting here making it everybody else's responsibility and rolling my eyes and being incredibly frustrated, but I want to step forward in leadership, and I'm looking to create some partnership here. And how would that feel for you if we created that partnership to literally walk through a very simple concept I'll share in a second? So Michael, how does that feel for you?
Listen, I think if the end result here is fewer deals dying on the vine, I feel really good about it. I don't know how we're going to get there, but
Yeah.
feels good.
So Einstein said, make it as simple as possible, but not simpler. So I'm going to give you a simple as possible, but not simpler depiction of how you can become a masterful attorney, step one, and will be the jump off point for us in all the things that we do. And do you think I could do that in one sentence?
I mean, now I'm curious to see what you're going to say. I don't know if you could, but you come very highly recommended. So yes, I'm curious, and yes, I would love to see that.
Amazing. Ready? Here's the sentence. For everyone in the team to understand, everybody in every way, this is how you have, because by the way, disagreement begins as soon as we don't have affirmative agreement. So here we go. Ready? One, who does what? I wouldn't even leave ones, two, threes. Who does what? Who gets what? And what do we both agree not to do? That's the sentence. Who does what? Who gets what? And what do we both agree not to do? And if we can create alignment between sales and legal, finance and marketing, we can have such an unbelievably more optimal approach to everything. Because imagine that, because a lot of what I end up dealing with at the end, Michael, in our agreements, and this goes up to the C-suite, is we don't cover what do we both agree not to do. So I begin to insert things that we agree not to do, and the deal begins to fall apart. And now I'm battling with in-house over there, and they have their whole litany of things they don't, agree that they're not going to do. And we're saying we don't do that. And we have disagreement. And then all the things that of who does what aren't entirely clear. And who gets what, that's very often clear. It's like, yeah, like you guys get a product or service and we get a check. So, a lot of times who gets what is pretty clear. The who does what part and then what do we both agree not to do? A lot of times that's not clear at all, but I'm taking responsibility for that not being clear. So I know we're at time, right? But how does this feel like a great place to pause to begin to set up a 2-hour meeting so we can begin to think of how to enroll all the other folks we need to enroll in this conversation to get to a who does what, who gets what, and what do we agree not to do that involves marketing, sales, finance, potentially IT tech, legal, R&D, C-suite, all of it. How does that feel for you, Michael, that you and I align and become the champions of this process?
Listen, I love what you're saying. I'm curious to hear more about it. I've heard some of the how, but listen, I think it's worth the time and energy that we're going to put into this to make sure that we get to a place where everybody is working together cooperatively.
Absolutely. Now, for everybody here, right, we only have 90 minutes together, and we're going to pause because a lot of people, we believe in math, do jump off at minute 60. We're not saying to do that, because from minute 61 to 90, we're going to integrate the applications of this. We're going to deal with deeper objections, a whole bunch of stuff. But before people have to jump, because a lot of people's schedules are hour, not 90-minute allotments, we have some gifts for you. Now, please note that in these gifts that we have for you, this is not anything that is designed in that thing, that gift, to sell you something. Do we have things to offer you and sell to you? 100%. Do you want to build lifelong relationships like we have with a bunch of people in In-House Connect? We absolutely do, but we are give, and integrity first. So there's a number of valuable gifts. These are not sort of like bait and hook leaders. These are truly valuable things. So Michael, for those folks that have to jump, before minute 60 elapses, we're going to go into it. And again, from minute 61 to 90, we're going to go with Q&A. We're going to dig deeper into these examples, handle objections that can come up, and begin to frame out what that 2-hour meeting can sound and look like. So Michael Smykin.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for all that, Sean. And I am actually curious now and eager to keep going forward with this, but also recognizing that Shai has made this, community available to us, and we're here to serve and support for sure. We just wanted to show our appreciation to Shai And so what we are doing, and Tink in a second is going to put up a QR code for you folks and a link or a number for you to text message a word, which will be shy, is something that we refer to as an influence acceleration session for free, no charge, and then an 11x session for free, no charge. There's no financial investment. Do not wait for the other shoe to drop. We will not sell you on anything. And so what the influence acceleration session is us spending somewhere close to about 45 minutes to an hour understanding what it is that is most challenging for you and how we can get you past whatever friction point you have, whatever thing that you want to learn, whatever access that you're looking for, whatever your pain is. And then we spend an entire session specifically just giving you a very customized blueprint and outline as to how to resolve that specific challenge. I've done this for probably 50 or 60 people. I've participated in at least 30 or 40 of those calls, and they've been just phenomenal. But what it is the first 15 people who sign up, we're going to give you that QR code.
And let's pause right here real quick. So
Sure.
for anybody who's like, oh, there's like a limited number, like, yes, because we've agreed, and this is a much smaller number than last time. We're super excited and happy with the relationship with In-House Connect because we can't even keep up with all the sessions at this juncture. But that's 30 hours essentially, because it's 15 hours for the initial influence acceleration session. And there's a second hour that we offer to people in it. And then we could talk about like more things we could do together. In the first hour, we don't do that. So it's 30 hours of time that we are investing in the folks at In-House Connect. So we ask you to only accept that session if you're like, yeah, like there's really something here I'd love to work on. And the reviews of these sessions have been tremendous. Shai was like totally freaked out in the beginning. We were working together of talking about all this, like, oh my God, like this is going to be like an infomercial. Like, no, it's not going to be like that. And the reviews have been incredible, which is why Shai said the beautiful things he did today. He was not saying that, when we were first getting started. This is with R&D over the course of like 4 or 5 sessions that we've done together now. And so in that session for everybody, this could cover communicating with the C-suite. This could be about how you get a raise. This could be about perhaps starting your own business and how you'd communicate and create sales meetings and influence. This could be something personal. I mean, we talk to people about all kinds of fascinating dynamics of influence that come up. This could be exactly what we're talking about today. Like, how do I create better agreements with the marketing and sales team or the finance team? Or how do I get adversaries to agree? I'm working on this huge deal, and this is a nightmare for me right now. I got this adversary. Everything is no. He's like the flea market dude where if I ask for X, he says 1/10 X. Whatever I say, he says no to, or she says no to, whatever it is. So any of those things are absolutely fair play. And again, the reviews for these sessions in writing, and we're not going to belabor right now. I told Michael I'll be ready to read a couple of reviews of it. For the sake of time, we'll skip that. But they've been extraordinary. People said life-changing. I paid for coaching for years, and in one session, it's the most impactful thing I've received. This is a standard response that we have received from our work with in-house folks at In-House Connect. So Michael, back to you.
Yep. So to bring that home, Sean, it is the 2 sessions, the influence acceleration session, the 11x session. The first 15 who sign up are going to be able to work with Sean's co-founders at Unblinded directly, Adam and Fernando. That'll be for the first 15 people who sign up. For the next group of people who sign up, they are still going to work with an incredible Unblinded teammate. I may pepper myself into some of those conversations as well, but the Unblinded teammates are just incredible. They're students of the formula through and through, and they will give you the superpower of influence in these sessions to help you solve for very specific challenges or just generally wanting to learn more about what the formula is. So that's for the next 50 people who sign up. For the first 50 people, 50 who sign up, you're going to get access to one of our blinded courses called 30 Days of Influence. That's going to be for free when you sign up and complete these sessions. For free, you will get the 30 Days of Influence. Sean, why would someone want to?
I mean,
what problem are they looking to solve?
30 days to influence. The problem you're solving is how to structure all of these yes conversations. There are 4 steps, 12 indispensable elements, 4 energies. The first In-House Connect session we did, we like sped through all of it. And it was crazy. People were overwhelmed. They're like, what's happening? This is like way too much. Like, right. So in the 30 Days to Influence Mastery course, a course that we sell, but for In-House Connect, we're offering this is for you. If you click the link and sign up, you receive this. And this is a course that a lot of folks have paid $1,000 to purchase. In this course, we're taking you through about 10 minutes to 15 minutes a day for 30 days to learn each of the steps of 4 steps of influence, the 12 indispensable elements and the 4 energies that would serve you in creating these yeses in all these different conversations. So it solves the problem of what's the structure of all of human communication, which is not a small problem. It's the cornerstone of everything. Michael, back to you.
Yep. In addition to that, so beautifully as a gift to Shy and to the In-House Connect community, the first 50 people who sign up are also going to get access to 2 of the Unblinded Formula books for free, which will be provided as well. So the QR code, I believe, is now up on screen. You could use the QR code. You can use the link. You could text message IHC to the number 66866. There's no attachment to this. You're welcome to do it if you would like. If not, all good as well. But I think that it would be slightly crazy because some of the greatest challenges that we have, and one of the only superpowers that we can acquire, as a human being, would be the power to get people to say yes. And everybody has a yes that they're looking for inside their life to help unlock some challenge, some friction, some frustration, something that's keeping them from where they want to be, from whatever their dream is. And so, take a spot or not. It's our gift to Shy. We hope to work with these folks. But I think, Sean, you wanted to talk a little bit about how to bring this all together for the folks.
Yeah.
Who are going to...
And a quick final, those 2 books are Integrous Influence Mastery, so the full book on influence, and Group Influence Mastery. So one is more group dynamic in terms of public speaking, management, leadership, and the other one is individual one-on-one influence. And as we wrap all this together in true final, Disney executives, Exxon executives, giant companies are people who've been in our program and our work for years and are blown away by these elements and have risen massively inside of these giant companies through this work, and other people from all sorts of different companies, whether that's in HR, finance, legal, the whole gamut. So thank you guys. And I always say this, if you don't do this now, you're never going to do it. So do not hold off and wait till later. And P.S., this is how I recommend, and we do teach group influence. So even if so what we just did in the last 6-7 minutes here is also a training for you on how you create enrollment integrously. And because you're proposing something to someone, whether it's the C-suite, whether it's finance, legal, HR, R&D, whatever it is, enrollment with people and walking people through the conclusion and the action step is a part of the influence process. And if I would never do what we just did for the last 7 minutes 10 years ago. And my results were a fraction of what they are. And if we're going to step in the space of influence, we care about people getting outcome, we have to realize that when yes and action become at stake for people, people back up. Cortisol begins to fill the system. People resist, and it's understandable. It's what everyone does, especially when people are self-identifying as logically minded. They don't like saying yes easily. Michael Smikin does not like saying yes easily. His natural inclination is to say no. We call it a mismatching pattern. For most of you in the space of in-house and general counsel, your pattern would be mismatching, to say no. As soon as we start talking about option to do something, people start dropping off. We understand that. That's what occurs. But for you, being here, not taking us up on this, which you're here for this purpose, this is the greatest fulfillment of what we're doing, because you get books, you get all these 30 days consecutively of everything we're doing here to up-level your influence. So again, click the form. If you want the results we're talking about, the highest level, click the form, fill out the form, and schedule that time. So thank you for that. And Michael, yes, let's move into how we implement all of this right now. So Michael, what questions, concerns, issues do you think people are having with what we've covered so far in our final 25 minutes or so? How do we maximize the impact for folks? What's your listening?
Yeah. So funny enough, this is the second part of the challenge. So now I have alignment with the sales manager. He's open to the possibility of me speaking to the sales team and or substituted with the financial teammates, whoever the people are. Now, how do I get them to actually do the thing? How do I get them to not, agree to the things that they shouldn't agree to? How do I get them to actually put forward, the one pager with the bullets of what I need inside these contracts in order to say yes? How do I get them to follow through on the stuff that potentially causes friction, right? Or challenge or confrontation?
Yes. Okay. And so let's move into then the second longer meeting. Fair, Michael?
Yep.
Okay. And by the way, any questions dropped into the chat, let's start collecting questions in any way, shape, or form. Michael, anything that you think people are asking, and let's bring those forward in these final minutes to create this integration. So we have the meeting. So it's like now it's meeting number 2, right? And so how I would recommend that I'm legal in-house or general counsel. Michael is the head of sales. And let's presume we haven't included anybody else yet. Now we're going to really lean into it. I would always start by saying, hey, Michael, in like the world according to you. So first of all, I would acknowledge, let's go slow. We had the meeting. So, hey, Michael, thanks so much for doing this. I'd start with acknowledgement, authentic acknowledgement. Not, we don't believe. What I wouldn't say is, Michael, you're so awesome, dude. Like, I just always love your personality. And that's not true. Don't say it, of course. But authentic is saying, Michael, I really appreciate our last call. I found a groundedness, a heart-centeredness, and a really sharp prism of like access to acceleration. It was really there for me. So thank you. I believe we can do something important. I believe we can make progress. I believe it can take a lot of stress off for you and create a lot more success and a lot more stress off for me. Just checking in with you. So thank you, first of all. How are you feeling about coming into this session? Like, what's top of heart, top of mind? That phrase, what's top of heart, top of mind? Check in. And why do I say top of heart, top of mind? Because some people connect more with feelings. Some people connect more with their mind, or they relate to themselves that way. So I'll give both. Hey, so what's top of heart, top of mind for you? I start virtually every segment going around the group and asking, hey, what's top of heart, top of mind? And if I get heart from somebody, I'm like, hey, so what are you thinking? If I get mind from somebody, I'll go with, what are you feeling? So Michael, please, what's top of heart, top of mind for you?
Yeah, I think we have everybody here ready to receive. I'm very curious on how you've been able to pull off the things that you've been able to pull off, and how you think that that's going to translate to a greater number of closed sales, less friction, and dealing with folks. And I have a lot of faith in what it is that you've done.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate that super high level. So would it be okay if I asked you then, and we're still good, by the way, we have an hour and a half, 2-hour meeting today, right? So we have an hour and 55 minutes to go. By the way, that's role play for everybody. Like, we have 20 something minutes to go, but for this, we're in the role play with Michael. I would time check that we still have about 2 hours to go. Is that correct, Michael?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So can I ask, like, the world according to you, what's the world according to you of how all this should go? What should sales be doing? Where should sales take it up to? Where should be kicked to legal? And if you remember, I'm proposing this idea of who does what, who gets what, and what do we agree not to do? So is that, well, first I should check in. Is that a framework that makes sense to you? That what we all need to do between you and I, we're talking right now about who does what, who gets what do we agree not to do? Like that, we're having that type of meeting for the next hour and 55 minutes. And I'm proposing that you and I are seeking to align in our who does what, who gets what are we not to do meeting, that we're bringing that forward to the entire group of stakeholders, in this conversation. So how does that framework feel for you initially?
Yeah, at first when you introduced it, I was a little like what is he talking about? The more that I've thought about it, though, is I agree. I think it's a wonderful simplification of how to drive this thing forward.
Yeah. So for everybody listening, out of role, for everybody listening, if we don't create a common context, a framework that we're inside of together, where we begin to use common language and common subcontexts, plural. So like there's the framework of we're having a constructive meeting. Inside of that context of constructive meeting, we're now in a constructive meeting to figure out the subcontext, one, of who does what. Second, who receives what, who gets what. Third, what do we agree not to do? Now we're aligned in a common outcome. Michael, so now I'm going to ask Michael, the other person, for their framework. I always want to know the world according to the other person, because maybe we're 100% agreement and we just haven't been executing effectively. There may not be one thing that is off in agreement formation. It could all be execution dynamics, or we could be hugely off. So first, let's hear the world according to the other person. Fun footnote, this is how we conduct every deposition, every meeting, every dynamic of every bit of influence. This is what I do with my kids. Be like, okay, cool. Tell me, like, you want to go away and study abroad for the semester, and you think this is the budget that I should be beautifully writing a check for? Talk to me. The world according to you. Like, what's this about? What's the gain? What's the why? Give me the world according to you. And I'll do that in a deposition. I'll do that with every single setting of influence: recruitment, fundraising, marketing, selling, management, leadership, all of it. So Michael, what's the world according to you, please?
Yeah, my sense is, we have a very challenging job in terms of driving these opportunities forward, getting people to say yes ultimately. Many times, it'll be months long, these conversations. We'll have to overcome a lot of challenges, a lot of friction in the dialogue with the sales folks on the other side, the attorneys on the other side. And so, when we're done and we get our yes and we turn it over to you, my expectation is at that point, you're going to help bring it to fruition and get it done. And, one of the things that's been a major frustration for us is, we'll send it over to you and, all they want to do is talk to us. They don't want to talk to you after a period of time. And they feel like the deal is getting, crushed. It's getting put to sleep. It's taken way too long to get decisions on it. And then the deal falls apart. We got to bring it back together. So, my expectation is when we get the yes, here's what the framework is, and you got to do whatever you got to do to get it done. And if they're asking for us to do something that's within our power to do, and it's a big contract and it's worth our time and it's worth our energy, my expectation is it's just going to get done.
Right. Well, I appreciate that, Phil. So I'm hearing you say, and again, I would acknowledge again. So I'd say what I'm hearing you say is, and I'll demonstrate that you want to get to a place where agreement happens, and then we're gonna get it done. We're gonna take it home from there, and you feel extremely frustrated that as time has progressed, legal has been causing deals to die, and it is very upsetting for you and your entire team. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Awesome. Anything I'm missing?
No.
Okay, that's again another example of acknowledgement. And can you appreciate for everyone how what this is going to invoke is the principle of reciprocity? Not always, not perfectly, because as I said at the outset, there's going to be super unreasonable, wildly difficult people to deal with. Like, that's a thing, right? So putting that aside, but with those people, I mean, nothing too effective is going to happen anyway. So we're not doing this to say perfection. We're doing this to make the numbers better of how we can create more and more aligned outcomes and communications and yeses. So the acknowledgement is deep. So I appreciate it. So now after one, the world according to them. So part one is the world according to them. Here's part two. Now get specific. So he said, we get a yes, you take it home. Now let's get more specific. Let's clarify. So Michael, can you help me understanding a little bit more about what are all the yeses? So for example, in an agreement, do you agree that the sales team's job is to actually back up, have a step? So there's three components. The world according to them. Before I start getting really specific, I would in between go, so Michael, can you tell me all the yeses that you think the sales team should be creating? So I'm getting, like, you get the yes, like, what are all the yeses the sales team, in your mind, in your heart, the sales team should be creating when it gets moved over to legal? And what yeses shouldn't they be creating? I pause. So the one is the macro world according to them. And the second is this substructure of the world according to them, now with broader precision. The third component is going to be absolute precision and locking in and then dealing with friction points. So Michael, what are the yeses that the sales team should be creating?
They choose the product that they want. They choose.
So one, so I'd be right down. So sorry, one, Michael, is they choose the product, the client chooses the product they want. Am I hearing that correctly?
Correct.
Excellent. So client choose the product they want. Next.
We set the price point, which we then negotiate, and we ultimately come to an agreement as to what the price point is going to be.
Okay.
The timeline for their
so
actions.
One, yep. Excellent. So one is product, two is price is done, three is timeline. Yes.
Correct. How long they're going to have access to either the purchase of the product or the service that they have available to them. And then in every deal, they want something different, something customized. And so we try to figure out what those things are and get them done and provide them.
Got it. So thank you. So one is what's the product, two is the price, three is the timeline, and four is any customization dynamics. Am I hearing that correctly?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Anything I'm missing?
That's it in a nutshell. I mean, obviously there's the devil's in the details with certain things, but
Right.
that's the big stuff.
Okay. Thank you. So now we have the world. So now I would clarify this generally in the second round. So Michael, what yeses do you think it's not the sales team's responsibility to create? And where do you see things getting bogged down with legal?
I mean, it's all the other stuff, right? These deals have, 20-page agreements, and I know roughly what needs to be incorporated inside of it, but I think that's where most of the friction is coming from. It's all the additional stuff that we haven't touched on.
Got it. So, and again, I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I just really want to, and are you feeling heard right now, Michael? And these are called check-ins. Like, Michael, how heard do you feel right now?
I feel good. I feel good talking about this with you and clarifying these points. And I can see already, some of the places where there may be breakdown. So
awesome. Thank you. Okay. So what are some of the things that you think is in our agreements that are creating problems? Because I have ideas and thoughts, but I just want to see like which are present for you.
Yeah, listen, I know you have the one pager with the bullets and the things that we need to touch on with the clients. I don't know if it's those things so much, but it's all the other areas, with the contracting and duration and scope and whose laws and all that stuff. I think that's where a lot of that friction is coming in.
Right. So I'm hearing some issues of remedies, like if there's a conflict. Am I hearing that?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm hearing perhaps choice of law, choice of venue, if there's a conflict or dispute. I'm hearing perhaps some issues around warranties, insurance coverage, all those sorts of, we'll call it the legal junk that gets into the mix. Is that what I'm hearing?
I call it the lawyer BS, but yeah, that's
the stuff. The lawyer BS. Understood, right? Excellent. So would it be okay then if I shared a couple of things that are present to me and on my heart in the world according to me?
Yes.
Okay. So now, out of role for everyone, like we've deeply heard Michael, the world according to him, generally, we've created a little bit more of a macro framework and then got specific tie-ins of like all the things he's responsible for, all the things he's not responsible for. And I could have obviously gone through that in even more detail, but for the sake of time, we didn't. And then I said, hey, so what I'm hearing you say one more time is boom. And then I'm asking, hey, would it be okay if I shared a couple things now? So Michael, how prepared are you right now? Or when we have meetings like this, and I've done this with you in the past, so you can speak from personal experience, to now want to hear me after being this heard for this long?
Let me just make sure I understand the question. How prepared am I to deal with those issues?
No, how prepared are you to now listen to me?
Oh, so, yeah. I mean, look, as who I am, super prepared. And most human beings are as well, because you've given them such a high level of listening that there is an unconscious desire to reciprocate and give back.
Say that again really slowly.
Yeah. So after being so...
By the way, this is Robert Cialdini, professor of influence, cited studies all over the place on the principle of invoking reciprocity. Robert Cialdini, he's got an outstanding book called Persuasion. By the way, we have no business relationship with Dr. Cialdini, but a book called Persuasion and a book called Influence in the invocation of the principle of reciprocity. So a lot of our influence work is built on models and mechanisms to invoke sociologically, psychologically, anthropologically demonstrated principles of influence. Now you can manipulate these or you can do them integrously. And the distinction between integrity is when you're not concealing a genuine intention to create alignment, right? So Michael, the reciprocity is invoked, the listening is present. And now what I would simply say, I would make an opening share, right? Is so Michael, listen, here's a little bit about me, my background. So I go to law school. And you could make this your story, right? I go to law school and I want to help people with their legal issues. And I go to law school, and at some point I take a class called contracts. And I think my contracts professor is a wackadoodle because he's talking about all of these crazy problems. We're back in old England in the common law, and he's then going to teach us things later about all these statutes. And he's coming up with all of these things that I'm like, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. Why do we have to think about all this and worry about this and deal with all of this? And Michael, do you want to know the crazy thing?
Yes.
They all really happen. They all really happen. So people get in lawsuits all the time. And there's clients that decide to not pay because they have financial problems. Not because what you're selling isn't great. It's great. And then they have their own financial problems. And then they go pull out this contract that we're creating, and they find every way in the world to fight about it, not because they genuinely have a problem with anything except their own problem, which is they're having cash flow issues. Or second, some people manage their profit bottom line margins, some companies, by not paying and finding ways to not pay as time progresses. Third, there's all sort, and well, within those two dynamics, I should say, there's a whole myriad of subdynamics. So when those people do those things, they often want to take you into their own courtroom, which could be biased or corrupt. It actually happens. There's a lot of places that state courts can be really dangerous for a company, that if we end up in those state courts, we could be dealing with judges that have meaningful bias and corruption. They're friends with the lawyers on the other side. They know the people. That's their home turf. And they're going to help them win. And they're going to hurt us in big, big ways, right? There could be all sorts of issues about like what laws are chosen to resolve things that can only feed into all of these things. So what I'm going to request is, and I don't have all the solutions right now, Michael, but I'm going to ask you to tell me what you're hearing me share and how it's resonating with you or not in a moment. But my problem is that my whole job function is to realize that some of the people you're dealing with, that you're having a great relationship with, you know, you met, you went to an event, convention, awesome things, great people, we're selling stuff, everybody's excited, they met in the golf course, you know, had some drinks, hung out, all of it. But what could happen later is really catastrophically crazy. It happens all the time. It's like why 50% of marriages end in divorce. Like more than that many contracts end up with a dispute. So Michael, if you could, and I don't have a solution, like, and I'm not telling you that your problems aren't real. I'm simply sharing some of my problems. So it'd be okay if I asked you to share what you're hearing me say.
Yeah. So, and Sean, just quick out of character, there's like 3 or 4 burning questions. People have like fire marks on them for it. But what I hear you saying is, you know, it's not so simple to say, just solve whatever challenge we have, because you're dealing with really complicated situations and issues. And, you know, people may say they have an issue with one thing, but really it's something else that they're not communicating to you. So you got a lot of things that you're juggling as well in order to get people to say yes. And you may have to deal with some of these other challenges where there's now conflict and friction.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm gonna, yes. Well, Michael, thank you. I'm feeling super heard. This is in the role play. So what I'd love to do now is begin to step into how we can figure out and identify companies, people, places, and things that are going to be problems for all of us earlier in the process. So you guys don't go all the way into all of these pieces, parts of things, and then we get all the way down the road and we find out the way this company does business is they're only going to agree to litigate cases in their own forum. It's going to be their choice of law, their venue, jurisdiction, and that can't change. So perhaps a lot of time and energy could be saved if we begin to find out some of these things earlier in the process, because they just can't change. And so then you're not all the way down the road, and that's one idea, but we can go through a whole bunch of ideas out of role, right? So then we begin to tackle these challenges and we help one another through them. Like that's a longer conversation. We're down to our final 4 minutes or so. Michael, you said there's some questions. Let's lean into those.
Yep. So I'm going to give you the first one in no particular order. If someone is just completely unresponsive to you, basically will just not communicate even feelings or thoughts, do you keep trying or do you just move on?
I mean, that's a great question. I've encountered that almost never. And the only places I've ever encountered that are from people where there shouldn't be a relationship. So if that's somebody managing you, if that's somebody who is your partner in life or in business, I would be looking to make transition rapidly. And I would tell them and say, listen, it seems like we're not getting anywhere ever. I'm trying to connect. I'm trying to create an outcome. What is it that I could do better to have you share what's on your mind, your heart, like what's really going on? Like that's what the question would sound like. Because if the person's doing that, they have already decided that there's no way they want to create a relationship with you, or there's something else, massively extenuating circumstance, like maybe they have a sick parent or something, they're going through a divorce themselves or they're leaving the company, but there's something they're concealing. And I would lean into it that directly, period. And if they're not going to connect and open up, there's a massive problem. And to pretend otherwise would be like having a giant lump on your neck and thinking it's not there. For real. Yeah, Michael.
Yeah. How do you deal with the situation where the sales timeline doesn't match with legal's other commitments? And although this is not asked, I'm going to cut through and say sales is yelling and screaming from the rooftops, requiring immediate urgency. And you have a lot of things that you're juggling as well. So what do you do in the situation where sales timeline doesn't match with legal's other commitments?
Yeah, I mean, this is like probably an 8-hour conversation to fully bake out the answer and help support optimizing this. But the simple answer, the couple of offshoot tree branches, would be to do what we just said and say, listen, we have a friction point constantly with what you guys need, the turnaround times you're expecting, and it could be perhaps in alignment, not perhaps, it would need to be in alignment with the sales and marketing folks to create some different and more reasonable expectations with the people they're selling to. And it could be also on the legal side, how do we create a more optimal prioritization on the legal side of turnaround? And working with sales and marketing, because all deals are not the same, right? If Salesforce and, we've done some work with, executive Salesforce in major selling, if they're working on a $100 million deal with Citi, it's not the same thing as working on a $3 million deal with a major New York law firm. They're just two completely different things, right? And so prioritization has to kick in for the company, like which thing has to get moved to the top of the pile most rapidly. I mean, it's an obvious answer, but if that communication is not happening and we're treating all like, we're in a deli and whoever got the ticket in first, I would highly recommend a different level of communication. Lots more we could talk about there. This is outstanding. I would definitely say to take an influence acceleration session. No doubt about it with that question. I don't know where we are. I don't know if they're all taken or what's happened, but that's definitely a beautiful unpacking to happen there. Michael.
So this one is a much deeper question, and that is, how long does it take for me to actually change my communication style to communicate like this, like the way you're describing?
Yeah, I think it could be done. Here's my truthful answer, and it's not meant to be cute or trite. It happens in an instant. It happens as soon as you decide, and congratulations for even asking the question, you decide that you are not your communication. You're not your communication style. It was adapted. It was created by people who were around you in your conditioning throughout your entire life. That's what happened. And as soon as you decide that you are not your approach and style of communication, which is what I had to decide 27 years ago, it changed everything in my life. And within 30 days, you have a meaningful shift. Within 3 to 6 months, a profound acceleration. How do I know? Because I became someone who created massive amounts of yeses in about a 6-month period 27 years ago. And I did not have this work and program sitting in front of me. And that's why this is my life's work, because it changed lives. And I'll tell you this really quickly. And I would love to talk for the next hour. I know we got to go. I know we're at time. My daughter, who's 2 years and 11 months old, a couple days, she's 2 years and 10 months, almost 11. We went to our gym class today, earlier this morning. And today there was a massive disruption for her. She loves her gym class. It's amazing. It's extraordinary. And what we didn't realize is that the kids that were 3 already beginning today, and a bunch of kids that she was in the class with before, they moved into time with Coach Alex. She loves Coach Alex. And what we've done for the last, year there is run around the gym, I'm in there with her mom and we're playing with her and doing whatever she wants to do. That's what it looks like. And Coach Alex has been the person who's like roaming around the space, and he's always coming over. Like, my daughter's name is Selena. Like, Selena doing a great job, amazing, wonderful. Today, Coach Alex was with the tiny tigers, who are the 3 to 5 year olds. And Selena couldn't have connection and time with Coach Alex. And she was devastated. I've never seen my daughter like every day at gym. It's like, woo! And she's on this thing and, swinging on the bars, jumping on the trampoline, doing every single thing, wanting to impress Coach Alex. And there was this like shattered dynamic. Now, I know what this looks like. I've already remedied this situation. I've already got a, tremendous solution in place. At the end, I talked to Coach Alex. We figured out a great dynamic. But I didn't have that as a kid. I didn't have me as a parent, as my daughter does. And I'm sure you guys didn't have that. So we developed all sorts of different dynamics of conflict resolution and processing through our feelings. My daughter's like laying there, she's like, I'm sad. Like, all of this, that's how we develop our communication patterns. And all of them can be recreated. And I believe this. I believe the greatest power we can have in the world is our ability to cause one word, the word yes. That's what creates everything. And the first step is realizing we're not our communication. We can learn the skill set and do anything we want. And then moving ourselves forward from there. A month, profound difference. 3 to 6 months, life-changing. Michael Smikin, aligned or not? I know we're at time. Final.
100% aligned. And like, I have been a student of this formula for 15 years. It's existed for as long as I've known, but there's people who are coming into the community and taking part in the programs that are having results immediately from just learning one of the 12 indispensable elements of influence mastery, from just sharpening their listening to take it from, repeat and parrot back what a person just said, to inferential listening, to emotional listening, to all the way up to level 5, which is transformational listening, and just already seeing some huge results. And I think that was part of what Shai was sharing, that in a very short period of time, they can learn some wonderful skill sets holistically to apply to really, really acquire the superpower of influence.
So please take it up on us. It's not an infomercial sales call. It is not. It's our integrity. Shai wouldn't have us here if it was. And if you're not taking us up on it, I mean, it's leaving a gaping hole of our ability to serve you. And we're here to serve you. And the biggest thing we hear continuously from people is, this is unbelievable. I'm relating to my team differently, my management structure. I'm winning in court differently. I'm getting the C-suite to hear me differently. I'm selling more, all the different yeses that we call us. And I've never related to my mother, my father, the way I do now. I've never related to my kids the way I do now. I've never related to my significant other, my cousin, my friend. I've never had this level of connectivity with people the way I do now. And I've seen some really toxic relationships, which I'm really finding a way to transition and create more healthy boundaries. I love them still, but I'm creating more effective boundaries. All of those things are in play. So Michael, your final, let's take it home, and thanks, Shai.
Yeah, I just obviously want to thank this entire community. I want to thank everybody who hung around for the full 90 minutes. I really hope that you got tremendous value. And I want to thank you, Sean, for always giving so much of yourself in the way that you do. I know it ain't easy to always have these types of conversations and try to distill down your life's work in less than 90 minutes. And if I could thank anybody in addition to that, I of course want to thank Shai. Shai has been such an amazing and integral part of what we're trying to do here and bring this movement to in-house and general counsel. And he is I believe now, a real believer in what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So I'm just so thankful that we've met Shai through a beautiful shared experience, and we've developed this relationship. And thank you for your trust, brother.
Yeah, Shai was a skeptic, not a cynic. And a cynic, no matter what you show them, says, no, not real. A brilliant, healthy skeptic like Shai says, show me. All right, I see it. Let's go. Shai, thank you, brother, for everything you do. And everybody, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Mike. I'm a trust but verify kind of guy, and you have verified. I see it in the feedback we get and the feedback from the audience. So thank you. This was wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We're gonna wrap up here. I hope you have a wonderful Monday, a great April Fools, a great week. We are back in about 2 weeks with more great content, and we'll probably be back in a few months with more Unblinded.